start. Oh dear. I just remembered I need these. Okay. Now we will see about Facebook Live. Okay. Okay. Seems like it's happening. All right. It says it's live streaming now. Okay, so we have the recording going and the live stream. Now I will start the introductory lesson. Oh, sorry, folks. I have to screen share. Okay. Let's optimize and share. Okay. Welcome to Karen Rice's Raising Happy Kids Zoom show, episode 82, The One Rule Solutions. During this 1-hour Zoom show, I focus on sharing tips and lessons on the one rule to raising happy kids. Each episode has at least one example of the one rule in action, demonstrating how it helps you raise a happy child. Then when we have guests, we have Q&A and discussion. When I talk about raising happy kids or creating harmony with kids, I bring up the one rule. The one rule equals agreement. Agreement equals harmony. Using the one rule means you find agreement, that's the rule. You find a solution that everyone likes. You've found agreement. You've found harmony. Knowing and following the one rule is all you really need to create harmony between you and your kids. In any situation where there are differences that might lead to conflict between you and your kids, use the one rule. I learned this strategy from 3-year-old children. I was teaching them a complex conflict resolution strategy, actually intended for adults, and they taught me this. I need a little water. So don't think you're in for a rough time. It's simple, it's easy, it's powerful and effective. It works if you use it. The one rule starts strong. You have decided that you really want harmony with your child. That sounds so good, right? Everyone feeling good and getting along. You have decided that you do not want to make your child do what they do not want to do, and you do not want to do, and you're going to make this work. You have decided that you want to use the one rule to make this happen. This is going to become your new habit. You remember that when you use the one rule, you are sharing the following messages with your kids. I want us all to be happy. We are each important. Together, we can solve our problems. I believe in you. I love you. To create this new habit, you are going to start with yourself and what you want. You decide that you are going to let how you feel about a situation determine whether you agree with it or not. If it feels good, then you can agree with it. If not, you cannot. Think about a situation. Ask yourself, is this situation okay with me just as it is? If yes, good. If no, what would have to change, be different, so that I could feel good about it? Maybe several versions of this situation would feel fine with you. Maybe only one. This exercise, this practice, helps you make a habit of following the one rule. No matter what age your kids are, this exercise helps ensure a strong start and makes following the one rule so much easier. Here is an understanding that might make following the one rule even easier. Recently, I asked myself a question. What do I want people to feel when they are connecting with my work? I definitely want them to feel good about themselves. Then the following answer appeared, to my surprise and delight. I want people to realize that they are already using the one rule. That understanding surprised me, and as more and more of it was revealed to me, it delighted me. Of course, people are already using the one rule. I'm not teaching them anything they don't know. I'm not teaching them anything strange to them. I'm just helping them expand their use of something they use daily without thinking about it. They use it. You use it. Every time you come to a decision inside of yourself, you're using the one rule. Most likely, you had to consider several options or possibilities to reach that decision, even if it just took you a few seconds for you to agree with yourself. That is what I want. You also use the one rule whenever you agree with someone else. Together you come to a decision, an agreement. Yes, tomorrow I'll go to the auto parts store after I get my nails done. Even with your kids, you're using the one rule. You are coming to agreements. Think about it. Of course you are. You are just not thinking of it as a rule, as something required. So at times you are not coming to agreement. I'm here to help you think of coming to agreement as required, as a rule, as the one rule. You just expand the situations where you come to agreement until coming to agreement is just what you do and your kids do. It is the rule you and your kids follow. When you use the one rule, you are creating harmony. Your kids are creating harmony. You're becoming used to creating harmony, familiar with how good it feels to everyone involved. One point to be clear on is that even if a situation seems complicated, and it seems that it is impossible to find a solution that everyone involved can feel good about, it is still possible. An important thing to remember is that there is a way for things to work so that everyone involved gets to feel good. Keep that in mind. This has been my experience whenever I have made this effort. A clear, helpful way to introduce using the one rule to your kids actually originates from the first time the children introduced me to what is now the one rule. You can do what I did so they could understand what we were doing. I told the two little girls 3 things. 1, you are each important. Point to each person involved. You are important and you are important. And if it is your problem too, I am important. 2, you or we each deserve to feel good. 3, we are going to use the one rule to help this happen. Then tell them what the one rule is. When you actually start working with your kids using the one rule, helping them follow their interests is one of the easiest ways for you to start. That makes sense, right? It is also one of the most beneficial things you can do for your kids. Why is it good for your kids to do what interests them? One primary reason is that their interest is a key to helping them become the best versions of themselves that they can become. When we do what interests us, we are very engaged and focused. Think about doing something that interests you. When we are engaged and focused, what we do and produce tends to be of much better quality than if we were not interested. Interest helps result in excellence. An even more important result of being engaged and focused is that our whole being is involved in what interests us. That is why we are engaged and focused. We are experiencing harmony, inner harmony. That is a good reason to allow and encourage our kids to do what they're interested in doing. I have observed children doing what really interests them, and they become peaceful, harmonious people, even if they were not before. Now, it does not mean that everything that interests our kids is going to always interest them. They may be interested for 10 minutes or 10 days or 10 years or even for their lifetime. The point is they are following their interests, not the specific thing or experience that interests them or the length of time it interests them. So if they ask for your help, please help your kids follow their interests. If for any reason you really do not want to do what they're asking you to do, that is a perfect time to use one rule. Another reason for helping your kids follow their interests is one that is taking care of you too. When they are eager to do something instead of resisting doing it, you do not have to encourage them to do it or insist that they do it, let alone force them to do it. Think of how much of your time and energy could be available for you to use as you wish. Helping them follow their interests is actually the one rule in action, taking care of you and your kids. Glad you're here. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to stop the share. I don't always have to do that, but when I'm switching what I'm sharing, sometimes it helps. Okay, let's see. Let's go to this one. All right, back to screen share. Okay, this should do it. Now share. And we'll start the slideshow. This came to me this morning. I was going to do a different slideshow on following interests, but this one came to me, and so we're going to do this. What I want to share today is because of one thing that came up during Barda Allen's presentation. One, she was on talking about unschooling. That is the concept of trusting kids. Put this to use and feel an enjoyable sense of ease in your life. It turns out that this is an outcome of using the one rule. Here's a short review of the one rule and some supportive elements. Kids have a very important job to do, as important as any job on earth. It's their job to create an adult, the adult they become. One of our jobs is to help them do this and hopefully do an excellent job of it. The one rule helps this happen. It is distilled from over 47 years of focused attention, observation, experimenting, inspiration, and caring. That's why experiencing, understanding, and using the one rule is so important. The one rule helps kids follow their developmental blueprint. Kids are equipped with a developmental blueprint which dictates how to accomplish things like walking, talking, and all that we must conquer as we grow up. This developmental blueprint, with its inner motivation, ensures that a child masters certain abilities. A child must do what their blueprint dictates. Here's the one rule. To raise happy kids and to be happy yourself, make sure that all involved agree with each decision. I know it sounds too simple. It is simple. But this is how I raised my kids once I decided never to force them to do what they did not want to do. This was how I treated the kids I worked with. For short, the one rule equals agreement. And here are beliefs that support the one rule. We are each important. We each deserve to feel good. There is a way to find agreement. You don't have to accept these beliefs to be able to use the one rule. But as you use the one rule, you discover that you are using them, just as you discover that you trust your kids, even if you did not start out trusting them and their decisions. Using the one rule automatically brings about trusting and trustworthiness. Benefits of trust. Trusted children develop into trustworthy children. It is so exciting to trust children and to have them prove that your trust in them was warranted. Perhaps not the first try or even the third, but then how often among humans is the first try the only one needed to achieve competency? As you watch for it and expect to see evidence of trustworthy behavior, you see it more and more. Trustworthy kids are a joy. You know they've learned a lot about what's good for them and what's not. Also, since you trust them, they can't help but trust your good judgment and come to you easily when they need help. Steps toward trusting. What if you are afraid to trust your child's judgment? You may have good reasons for this. However, you can move from where you are to where you want to be, trusting them because they've proven themselves trustworthy. You could start with small, safe situations. Discuss this process with them. Tell them you want to be able to trust their decisions. Make sure they agree that this is a good idea. Use the one rule. Now you can both learn what you need to learn. They can learn to be trustworthy and you can learn to trust them. It's good for you both to practice. Keep this going. It might be more effective, though it might be more difficult for you, to start with something that means a lot to your child. Discuss it thoroughly. Make sure you both understand how you want it to go. They are likely to make their greatest efforts to be successful if it is something they really want to happen. Eventually, you'll be able to trust them and they'll prove themselves worthy of that trust. Then, even if things don't go as you both intended, you'll both know that they've done their best to be trustworthy and there is no reason to stop trusting them. Here are a couple of stories about situations that taught me some lessons about trusting kids. The first lesson taught me that trusted kids live their truth. I call this the roof jumper. At Children's House, our Montessori preschool, we had a low shed over the tricycles to protect them from the weather. One day, one of the 4 or 5-year-old boys figured out how to climb on the roof and was getting ready to jump off. I rushed over to him to stop him. He told me that he did this at home all the time. I decided to trust him and stood by to be available. He did fine. Other boys came over to join in. One tried and decided against it. More than one boy decided not to climb up and jump. A few did it. No one got hurt. They all got to be trusted with something very challenging and they all got to make the right decision for themselves. In the poison oak lesson, I learned that sometimes trusting is the only choice that makes any kind of sense. One of my assistants at Children's House walked with a small group of kids to take a couple of them to the school bus out on the main road. When they got back, she told me that while she was getting the kids on the bus, one of the little girls had convinced the other kids to pick poison oak leaves and rub themselves with the leaves. The girl told the others that nothing would happen to them. I panicked. I wished that we had a bathtub so they could all be washed, but we didn't. I began washing one child's hands and arms and realized that this was an impossible task. We had a tiny child-sized sink and there were about 6 kids. I decided that if they believed that nothing was going to happen, I would believe that too. I would trust their decision. That's what I did, and nothing came of it. No cases of poison oak. Okay. Let's stop the screen share. Okay. All right. So, those 2 stories were actually what came into my mind that I wanted to share with you. I didn't know everything that was in that, but I'm glad I shared that too. Very helpful, very useful, and examples of how trusting can have really good outcomes. Okay. Now I'm going to continue sharing some of the questions and answers from the Power of Respect. Okay, let's do a new screen share. Whoops. Okay. Column book. Okay. Here's the first question. I have recently become a single parent. My daughter is almost 4 years old. I have to work and can't be there for her like I used to be. What can I do to make the best of the situation for both of us? Not being able to spend as much time as you are used to with your daughter can certainly be upsetting for both of you. But making the best of the situation seems a great approach to take. Looking at your opportunities, seeing what could be of value to either and both of you about this situation seems healthy. One of the ways you can make the best of this is to make sure that the 2 of you focus on cooperation, negotiation, and finding mutually agreeable solutions to problems in your relationships. Nowadays, I would just say, use the 1 rule. Make sure that you use the 1 rule. This can ensure that you both feel better about life and each other when you are apart and when you are together. When you're together, it can help make the time smooth and enjoyable. It is a chance for her to become more independent. No doubt she'll have to spend more time on her own while you do some of the things you have to do. Even when you're together, you will have other things to do besides spending time with her. Since she may have to spend more time on her own than she used to, this is a chance for her to become more self-motivated. You can help by encouraging her to decide for herself what to do with her time. This does not mean forcing her, but if she asks you what she should do, ask her what she would like to do. If she really needs you to help her decide, then if it is possible, help her. When she does decide to do something, do your best to have faith in her choices. This is an opportunity for her to become more skilled. You can ask her to help around the house. Together, you can decide what work she will do. At this age, she is likely to want to be of help and will feel good about herself knowing that her help is important. Now is a good time for her to learn new life skills, maintaining a home, preparing food, gardening, sewing, and whatever other activities are part of your daily life. It is a chance for you to make sure that your time together is appreciated for the precious time it is. Sure, some of the time will be spent reading her books to her, or playing games, or playing with toys. You can also do other things together. Instead of making dinner alone, you could make dinner together. She might also like to wash dishes while you clean up the rest of the kitchen. If she is not in a preschool program, that might be a satisfying experience for her, as long as she is not a loner. A loner does not really enjoy being part of a large group. She might enjoy the opportunities to have an expanded social life and to be exposed to learning opportunities which she may not have at home. This might also be an opportunity for you to make contracts with other parents to exchange childcare, information, and other forms of support. You might look into the possibilities of bringing your daughter to work with you. In some jobs, this would be no problem. In some jobs, it would be no problem sometimes, or at least in emergencies. If the place where you work does not have childcare facilities, you might investigate the possibility of starting something like that. If she has to be with someone else for childcare, make sure the person who cares for her is practiced at treating children with respect. If this is not someone you already know, be sure to observe them interacting with other children. Also, of course, make sure that your daughter feels good about whoever is taking care of her. Keep open to the opportunities for positive experiences and help your daughter do the same. This openness and awareness can have as important an effect as anything will in her life. Okay, next question. We have a new baby and a 4-year-old son. What can we do so that our children don't suffer from sibling rivalry? Help your son have an active role in welcoming the new baby into the family. I don't think that's exactly what I meant. I think it's help your son have as active a role in welcoming the new baby into the family as he wants to have. I'm going to have to fix that. He may want to participate a lot or only a little. If he wants to be very involved, let his particular interests and abilities guide his activities. Ask for his help. He can fetch things for the care of the baby. If you have a cradle, he can rock the baby. He can make pictures to decorate the baby's place. He can choose music to play for the baby. He can tell the baby about what he has done each day. He might like to help dress the baby and even change the baby's diaper. Very often children want to hold newborn babies. Encourage him to sit while holding the baby. But if he really wants to hold the baby while standing, even walking, don't be afraid. He is strong and competent enough to hold such a tiny person. Well, that could be true, but just since this is now focusing on using the one rule, make sure that whatever he does, it feels good to you too. Because right then I was thinking if the baby like stretched out its body in some way, it could throw both of them off. So make sure you feel really good about this before you do it. Just stay nearby in case either one of them needs some help. This could be a valuable form of bonding for both of them. Of course, it is important that he understands that the baby is a person just like everyone else, with needs and wishes which must be taken into account. If his parents keep this in mind and practice it with the baby and with him, then he is most likely to do so also. Remember that the parents' behavior is their children's prime example of proper behavior. If you want them to cooperate with each other and with you, you must habitually cooperate with them. Make sure you both and each spend special time with your son. Do things with him that he really likes to do. Now is a good time to offer him experiences that he has not had before, but might enjoy and find stimulating and satisfying. Even if you didn't make special time for him before the baby came, now it is important that you do so. Otherwise, you can find your time being taken up with the baby and the usual life tasks, and your son will get pushed aside, not intentionally, of course. Help him to come to associate the baby's coming with more satisfaction and fulfillment rather than less. Encourage your son to make his own decisions. Encourage his independence and his competence, but let him go at his own pace. Faithfully practice respectful interactions with him. The more he develops himself and his life, the less he'll be bothered by the inevitable loss of some of your attention. Babies take time and attention as well as love and protection. And don't forget very early mornings and sleepless nights. If he wants to be a baby again for a while, let him. Let him suck a bottle if he wants to and have a special blanket or stuffy. If you resist his need to do this, he could carry on with it longer than he might otherwise, in defense of his need to do what he needs to do. You might talk with him about how he feels about people coming to see the new baby, maybe even bringing gifts for the baby, but not for him. If this is a problem for him, together you can come up with solutions which are satisfying for all of you. It is time for the father to bond with the baby while you spend time with your son, and a time for your son to explore the other loving people in his life besides you and his father, other relatives, neighbors, friends. If he has not learned this already, it is a good time for him to learn that other people can help satisfy his needs and can offer loving support. Do your best to make sure that these people know about and practice respectful interactions with him. Well, nowadays that you can just teach them the one rule and ask them to please use that with him, that he is used to doing that. Okay, next question. My grandchildren often spend time at my house. I have some beliefs about nutrition, which are very different from their wishes. For example, sometimes they just want to eat macaroni and cheese for dinner, and I think they should eat a more balanced meal than that. At this point, I have decided to let them have their own way, but I don't feel completely comfortable with this. Do you have any suggestions about how we can all get our needs met? I think that your question gets to the heart of the matter. Everyone getting their needs met. Have you discussed this with them? If you have not, sometime when they are not hungry and there is no stress between you, tell them that you would like their help. Explain to them as briefly and clearly as possible your position on nutrition and your concerns for what they eat. Maybe you have some ideas. Maybe you have some ideas. I would say, and information that they have never thought about. This new awareness might change how they think about what they eat. This talk alone could result in a change in their eating habits. Sometimes new information can change our whole life. Ask them to help you make up a list of foods that they do like that you also feel good about. Let them know that you would like to have food for them that they like and you are happy to have them eat. If that moment is not such a good time for this whole process, arrange to continue some other time. You could already have a written list of foods you would like them to eat. In your interview, note next to the food who likes it, who doesn't, and who hasn't tried it yet. If time, energy, and interest allow, go to the store with them and get some of the foods on your list that they do like, and maybe some that they haven't tried yet. With a younger child, like 2 or 3 years old, it's better to skip the talk and go straight to the store. Let them help you shop for foods you both agree to. For those who are interested, and most children are male and female, whatever their age, ask and encourage them to help you prepare these agreed upon foods. Children who are really interested in food preparation will probably want to do most, if not all, the work themselves. Even children who do not especially love making food usually enjoy eating the food they have made or helped make themselves. Once you have a list of foods that you know they like and you feel good about, you can try something I learned from my mother. I have seen it work many times. When people are hungry, they want something fast and easy. They will often eat whatever is put in front of them, especially if it's something they like. They will even try new things. If you make it a habit to have those agreed upon foods already prepared and just put them out for snacks or appetizers or at the beginning of the meal, they often get eaten without question and with pleasure. Then everyone gets their needs met. Okay, let's see. Next question. My daughter is graduating from the 6th grade and will be entering junior high next year. I know our relationship is going to be different. I've already embarrassed her twice last week by intervening in certain situations where in the past she would have wanted my support and help. I'm just not sure how to handle these changes in a way that will feel good to both of us. Your daughter's reaction to your behavior is evidence of the fact that she has begun her transition from childhood to adulthood. That long and for many families difficult transition called adolescence. She may not officially be a teenager, but what she needed and wanted as a child no longer serves her developmental needs. It is natural for people of her age to be ready for and to need more independence. They crave more self-reliance. From birth, they've been moving toward independent life, and now is a time of taking giant steps in that direction. It can be hard to let go, but it is essential. Not letting go and not trusting them to make their own choices in their life is one of the primary causes of conflict between adults and teens. If you have not been allowing her to choose which decisions she wants to be responsible for making, now is the time to do this. If you have required your daughter to ask for permission before deciding to do something, now is the time to release her from this. It is especially important for people in this age group. It is good for adolescents to experience as many different life situations as they wish to while they are still living at home. This gives them the opportunity to learn in the protective, supportive environment created by their parents, rather than later in the school of hard knocks, or perhaps not at all. Adolescents can be trusted to have control over many aspects of life, which adults often assume they cannot handle. It is important that you trust her and that she knows that you trust her. This will help her have faith in herself, and having faith in herself will help her make wise decisions. Taking on the decisions she wants to take on will give her the responsibility and the freedom to learn from her decisions. Unless your heart cannot find peace with the decisions she wishes to make, let her practice. You are available to help her, so it's a great time for her to practice making decisions and learning from the results, for increasing and developing her skills and abilities, and for expanding her interests. Whenever you release control over your child's life, it is critical that you maintain good communication with them. In fact, it is the essential element in being able to release control and still fulfill your protective, guiding responsibilities as a parent. Together, you can design ways to keep in touch with each other's plans and whereabouts. Well, nowadays, when this was written, there were no cell phones. Nowadays, everybody has a cell phone, pretty much, whatever age, even small children. Okay. So it'd be easy to keep in touch. Let's see. To keep in touch with each other's plans and whereabouts, ways that work for both of you. Negotiating win-win solutions to any problems between you is how you and your child take care of her, and you and your child take care of you. The one rule there. These next years can be basically peaceful, satisfying, and full of learning for both of you, as long as communication and cooperation are your priorities and controlling is never an issue. And I can speak of this because while I was there, that was how I did it with my own teenagers. Okay, next question. I am full of admiration for my 14-year-old child's self-motivation and development. However, I do notice that the same care that is directed toward other areas is not directed toward home responsibilities. The belligerent and exasperated tone which is used by my teenage child when reminded or asked to give some help is hard to deal with, especially since these responses are becoming the normal pattern. How can I change the dynamics so that we can get out of this rut before it becomes any deeper? I'm sure you have discussed this situation with your teenager many times, but have you discussed it in terms of feelings? Have you explained how important tone is to you and exactly how that belligerent, exasperated tone makes you feel? Have you asked your teenager if what they are feeling makes them use that tone? Some people don't relate to tone, they relate to content. These people don't realize that to people who relate to tone, tone can mean more than content. I see the misspelling. I have to fix that. Several things I have to fix in this. Tone-oriented people might completely ignore content if the tone sets them off. One reason people adopt certain terms or tones is because these terms or tones have been directed at them in the past. Even if you have not used this tone, maybe the other parent has, or the siblings or teachers, friends, or other adults. The kind of attitude your teenager seems to be taking is one that people often take when they feel that their needs are not being taken into account, but they are powerless to change it. Since this teenager is highly self-motivated, she might resent any interference in her life, especially chores, and she may use a tone or phrases, and they know consciously or unconsciously will get to you. If it's been going on long enough, it could even be out of habit. If the idea of tone is not being clearly understood, you might tape some of your family interactions. Record is a better word. People get, oh, and now you could even make videos. Okay. People get a much clearer idea of what they're saying and how they're saying it when they hear it on tape, when they hear the recording. Nowadays, probably most people don't have cassette players to tape with and to listen to. However, before you do this recording, explain what you're intending to do and why. Be sure you have a clear agreement before you do it. Don't do it if you cannot do it in a way that feels okay to those being recorded. Sometime when you're both feeling good, when neither of you has anything you have to get done right away, and the general atmosphere is unstressful, tell your teenager that you need her help. If you think you might have any trouble expressing yourself clearly and simply with non-threatening words, write down beforehand what you want to talk about and resolve. State the problems in terms of yourself and your needs. I feel when you. Through this discussion, you may discover that your daughter simply forgets to do the chores and also doesn't like being reminded. Reminders that she writes for herself might take care of this. Another thing you might discover, that she doesn't seriously mind doing the chores, but thinks that doing them is enough and doesn't like to being cheerful about it, or is only content when doing activities of her own choice, or really doesn't like the particular chores assigned to them and might be happier with other choices. Brainstorm together and discover solutions to this situation which are agreeable to both of you. Or nowadays, I would suggest using the one rule. If necessary, bring this to a bigger family meeting to make sure that what the two of you decided on is agreeable to everyone who is involved. In order to get out and stay out of a rut, it is necessary to do things differently. It might help to express appreciation for all the things this teenager does that please you, especially when chores are well done. You might Do your best not to offend with your tones or the content of what you say. As soon as you notice something which is bothering you, make an appointment with the person whose behavior is responsible to work on this. Never settle for a situation which does not feel good to all the people involved. Okay, that's it for today. I wish you guys a great week and enjoy following the one rule.